Have you ever looked at a flat, technical blueprint and tried to imagine what it would actually feel like to stand in that space? Today, we're going to dive into that amazing journey, from lines on a page to a 3D reality you can almost walk through. So how do we make that leap?
I mean, really think about it. When you're looking at a bunch of lines and measurements, can you actually feel the warmth of the sun coming through a window? Or get a sense of the flow from the kitchen to the living room? For most of us, honestly, not really.
And this right here, this is what we call the imagination gap. You see, on the left, you've got the technical plan, but on the right, you've got the actual vision. And 3D visualization, well, that's the bridge that connects them. It turns all those abstract lines into something you can feel, something a client can actually get excited about.
Now, this gap isn't just a small problem. It can cause some real issues. Without a clear shared vision, misunderstandings are pretty much guaranteed. And that can lead to some expensive changes down the line and a lot of headaches for everybody. 3D models solve this whole problem by getting everyone on the exact same page before a single nail is hammered.
So, how do we bridge this gap so effectively? Well, that brings us to the hero of our story today, SketchUp. It's this fantastic, accessible tool that was pretty much designed to solve this exact problem of helping people see the vision.
You know, what makes SketchUp so popular is that it just hits this perfect sweet spot. It's simple enough for a student to pick up in an afternoon, but it's also powerful enough for professional architects to create these absolutely stunning, top-tier results. It's both intuitive and incredibly capable.
And hey, this isn't some new kid on the block. SketchUp has been around. It started out with a company called Atlas Software. Then it got super popular when Google bought it. And now it's being cared for and made even better by Trimble. This is a tool that has been tested and trusted for years.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. How does this all work? Well, every single great 3D model, no matter how complicated it looks, always starts with the same fundamental thing: a really precise, well-made 2D floor plan. This is the bedrock for everything else you're going to build.
So first, you use simple things like the line tool to just draw out the walls. Then, and this is super important, you use the tape measure tool to lock in the exact dimensions. Being accurate here is going to save you so many headaches later on. And finally, you label the spaces to plan out the flow of the home.
Okay, so you've got your flat plan all laid out. Now get ready for the magic. Seriously, this next part is maybe the most satisfying moment in the whole modeling process. It's where your flat drawing literally springs to life.
The source material puts it perfectly. The push/pull tool lets you extrude flat surfaces into 3D forms. In plain English, it's the button that turns your 2D blueprint into a 3D building, all in one super intuitive move.
And it really is this simple. You start with your finished 2D plan, you click on a surface, like the floor of a room, and you just pull it up. And boom, just like that, you have walls, you have height, you have a three-dimensional building. It's amazing.
Okay, so we've got a 3D shell, but it's just an empty box, right? A house isn't a home until it has stuff in it. So now we've got to turn this box into a believable, livable space by adding all the details, textures, and that feeling of realism. So what's the recipe for realism? Well, it kind of breaks down like this. Furniture is huge. It defines what a space is for and makes up about 40% of the effect. Then you have realistic textures and materials, giving you another 35%. And that last 25%, that's all about lighting, which is what really sets the mood. Now here's the best part. You don't have to model every single chair and window from scratch. No way! SketchUp has this massive online library called the 3D Warehouse, and it is packed with pre-made models. This isn't just a time saver, it's a total game changer. It's the difference between spending hours on a sofa versus just seconds. Next up, you use something called the material editor to basically paint your model. But you're not just painting with color, you're painting with textures, like hardwood for the floors, maybe some marble for the countertops, or glass for the windows. This is the step that really makes the space feel tangible and real.
So we've built a structure, we've filled it with detail. Now it's time for the grand finale, the show-stopping final step: creating a gorgeous, photorealistic image that truly sells the final vision.
And this right here is the ultimate payoff. On the left, that's the raw SketchUp model. It's functional, you can see the layout, but it's a bit basic. But on the right, after using a rendering tool like V-Ray, that's the final presentation. It's a photorealistic image that communicates the actual feeling of the space. That's the whole journey, from a simple blueprint to pure beauty.
Of course, the process isn't always perfectly smooth. You might run into some common hurdles, like things not being the right scale. But that's an easy fix. You just use the tape measure tool to double-check dimensions. Or maybe textures don't line up perfectly at first, but hey, there are tools to adjust them. For every common challenge, there's a pretty straightforward solution to keep your project moving.
So there you have it. We've seen how a simple 2D plan can be methodically and kind of magically transformed into a rich 3D reality. The process is clear, and the tools are totally accessible. So I guess the only question left is, what vision are you going to bring to life?